Hi everyone, Dr. Schmidt here, making your Section 4.4 Objective 1 video. So we're in Section 4.4 and we're looking at Objective 1 here. I'm going to leave it to you to fill in your key terms from your textbook. And we're going to start with guided practice activity number 1. So here we have this table and we're going to learn to read this table and how to calculate some percent changes and read rates, all sorts of good things, starting on the next page. So for number 1, we are finding how big the civilian labor force was in November 2018. You can just read that straight from the table. There's not a calculation that you have to do. So read the table carefully. I trust you to do number 1. In number 2, I will show you how to do number 2 and leave number 3 for you. So remember, if we're trying to find a percentage, let's see what we can find in the table. So we're looking for the percentage of civilian non-institutional population that was employed in November 2018. Okay, so we're looking in the November 2018 column, and we need civilian non-institutional employment. Okay. Civilian non-institutional employment. Okay. So if you look at the corresponding values here, which of these are a percentage? Well, certainly this can't be a percentage, right? It's too big. 60.6 is the employment to population ratio. Remember, one way you can think about ratios is as rates. Another way you can think about rates is as percentages. So that's what the 60.6 is. 60.6%. So that's one way you can read that table. Number 3 is very similar. I'll leave that one to you. Read it from the table. And we'll go over number 4 together. The unemployment rate is a percentage of what group? Notice there's that rate word and the word percentage. Rates and percentages, those two words are mostly synonymous. So we're looking for the unemployment rate being part of what group? So let's go read the table very carefully and find out where the unemployment rate is in which group. All right, so we've got the unemployment rate right here. Notice that these are all indented slightly. So the unemployment rate is ultimately a part of the civilian labor force group. So that's the first part of this question. In particular, what was that percentage? That was, well, in November 2018, it was 3.7%. Where that 3.7% comes from is here and here. So they don't actually have to give you that 3.7%. You could calculate it yourself. 3.7%, and again, this is in November of 2018. I'm presuming that we're still talking about November of 2018 like we did in the last couple problems. That 3.7% is 5,975 divided by 162,770. So that's how you could get that percent without them giving it to you in the table. In number 5, I just have a reminder for you. I'm going to let you do this, so you don't need to write this. This is just a reminder for you to do this. So don't write that to save yourself space. But I do want to give you a reminder from previous worksheets. They want the total change and they want the percent change. So there are two things to remember here. Total change is your new amount minus your original amount. Well, in this case, the new amount will be in 2018 and the original amount will be the 2017 amount. So you have to go look up those values, those unemployment rate values, and subtract them. And the other reminder I have for you is that a percent change, forgive me, I'm going to shorthand that so we don't run out of space. The percent change is the total change divided by your original amount. Now in number 6 here, I'm going to do parts A and B and leave parts C and D for you. So in part A, let's see, does the data show that this 5.6% of the unemployed had less than a high school education, or vice versa? That the 5.6% of those with less than a high school education were unemployed. So read that again, maybe pause this and read that again. The order in which they phrase that matters. Now, what this is, the 5.6% of those with less than a high school education were unemployed. So that's the question, the first question. Why? Well, that's because the percentages don't add up to 100%. So they can't be percentages of the unemployed. Now in part B, what was the unemployment rate for those with a high school diploma in November of 2017? Now, watch out. They're asking you about November 2017, not November 2018, which we have in the table. But they do give us the November 18 percentages, and they give us the 1 year change points. So here's what you do with that information. Since November 18, and I'm going to abbreviate that to save us space, the November 18 rate was what? What was it? It was 3.5. 3.5%. And we have that 1 year change. The 1 year change, again, forgive me for abbreviating to save space, was negative 0.8. That means the rate decreased that 0.8, 0.8, from November of 2017. That's the way you interpret that information. So that means the November 17 rate must have been, or was, I'll say was to keep this shorter, 0.8 points higher than November of 2018, right? If it decreased from 2017 to 2018, it was higher in 2017. So think about that carefully. What does that mean the rate must have been in November 2017? The November 2017 rate must have been, or was, well, if it's 0.8 points higher than 3.5, you would have to add that on, and that's how we'll get 4.3%. That was the November 17 rate. And part C and part D are somewhat similar. You have to read these columns carefully, make sure you understand what they're telling you. So try part C and part D.